Hi, I'm Lisa Garr, and welcome to The Aware Show, a weekly show that brings you transformational tools and techniques that you can actually use today to inspire your positive growth and change in yourself and in others. Every single week, I will bring you new, cutting-edge information that will help you improve the quality of your life in any way you choose. Do you want incredible health, connected relationships, flourishing finances, cutting-edge science? Whatever it is, consider The Aware Show to be your trusted place for lifelong learning, because for over a decade, I have built trusting relationships with my guests and with my audiences. And if you're just new to The Aware Show, or if you've been a fan for a long time, I always encourage you to listen to your own truth and to stay aware. Hi, I'm Lisa Garr, host of The Aware Show, and I just want to remind you about the importance of being in nature and how much it grounds you. Just sitting on the grass like I'm doing right now, or connecting with your toes into the earth in some way, will help you release all of these energies that are not yours, help you ground into what is real, and connect again with the earth. It helps you rid yourself of any electromagnetic fields or radiation you might have picked up just by sitting on the ground or the grass and putting your feet in the grass. We wear so many shoes these days, and we have so many rubbered soles. Take your shoes off and get right back into nature and just reconnect and surround yourself with grounding nature. Enjoy that. Go out and do that today if you can, anytime, and just find out how your sensitivities just get toned down a little bit. Your agitation level gets calmed down a little bit, and you just reconnect into silence and nature and what is real. Enjoy. Hello, welcome to The Aware Show. I am Lisa Garr. So I have a question for you. What is your relationship with prayer? Are you the type of person that just prays when you need something? Or is it an, oh God moment, I really need your help? Or is prayer a part of your life? Is it a part of your daily life? Do you pray prayers of gratitude? Do you pray for other people? Do you pray based on your religious upbringing and the way that you were taught to pray? So this is a great topic, and we're going to be exploring this topic today because it deserves a kind of a reboot, a refresh on what prayer means to you now, here, today. And joining me is someone who does this on a regular basis. She basically is kind of a prayer coach, if you will. Angela Montano. She has helped over 15,000 people with individual sessions of all faiths and all different belief systems consider prayer and what it means to you, the individual, and help people pray. I have an amazing relationship with prayer. I'll tell you my story in a minute, but welcome, Angela. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your experience, your story on how you got started into this very specific niche.
Well, I think I have to start actually when I was 16 years old. I was a competitive gymnast, and I experienced an injury. I broke a bone in my neck, and I'm very fortunate to be walking today. And if that, isn't crisis enough for a 16-year-old, that very week, my boyfriend was killed in an automobile accident with my friend on their way back from the mall from getting my Christmas present.
Okay.
And then a third thing happened, which was something in my immediate family, a crisis. And it was like abruptly, I went from, just a, I was popular and, cheerleader and good student and just living life like that to really needing deeper answers to questions. And it did begin, it did start me on a spiritual journey and a deep awareness is what came forth in me, that so much more is going on than meets the eye. But I continued through high school, college. I become a TV news reporter. And that's really when I was reporting on these daily things going on, automobile accident, how are the Easter retail sales at the mall, all these things. I kept feeling this deeper sense. And many things happened that led me to California to study with Michael Beckwith. And I began in those classes to pray. And strangely, people always were coming up to me for prayer, the fellow students. At the time, I thought I was doing the classes just all part of my journey. But it was at that time that I realized I have a special calling, a special message, and relationship to prayer that began my career in this 23 years ago and all those thousands and thousands of sessions later.
Your relationship with prayer, I would love to know what that is. What does prayer mean to you?
Well, prayer for me, and what I believe true prayer is, original prayer, and this goes beyond any religious affiliation or belief doctrine. True original prayer is an instinct. And it's no less an instinct than your instinct to breathe right now, or your instinct to sleep or eat. And it is an instinct to reach beyond. We have an instinct to reach beyond our current experience of suffering, our limited sense of possibility, or any sense of, I'm going to use that word again, limitation that's in place in our consciousness, but needs to be widened, that our soul lives in the joy, in the forgiveness, in the bliss, in the compassion, in the wisdom that is truly available. So I think it's an instinct. It's also a technology. Through prayer, we connect to that broader sense of ourself, or we connect to God, if you use that word and relate to God. I've worked with atheists, and they pray. They have some of the most wonderful prayer practices. And when they pray, they think of it as like they're accessing their subconscious mind. Like some part of them is more aware of possibility than another part of them. So when they're praying to that broader sense of possibility. I use the word God. For me, that works. But for someone else, the word God is very toxic. I call it toxic God syndrome. Like the word's just too loaded. Prayer too can be a really loaded word.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was going to ask you, who are you praying to?
Well, I want to say, I want to first answer that, not the question you asked, but more important to me, and I think as one up levels and renews, and I love that word you use, reboot their prayer practice. Yeah. What becomes more essential and primary is, what are you praying from? Are you praying from possibility? Are you praying from hope? Are you praying from, in the unlimited sense of possibility, a miracle is possible? So you're praying from something. That's number one. And I think that's one of the keys to shifting our relationship to prayer. Now, what are we praying to? I can tell you, even though I would say I love God, and my idea of God is that which is too vast to be named, that is sometimes very elusive to me. Could I really concretize or say what I'm praying to? Mysterious, divine, loving intelligence of which I'm connected to. I may not remember that. I may not act like that. I may not sound like that on a particular day. Given a certain challenge, I might be really snagged in frustration, anger, something else. But when I'm praying, I'm always praying to what I believe is true reality, true love, true me.
Now, so do you start off a prayer with gratitude? Do you have I know it's not going to be the same for everyone. And I think we're beyond the idea of praying to a man in the sky. I think we've kind of transcended that finally. Do you find that people individually have their own ways of praying to maybe counsels or guides or angels or lost loved ones? Is there usually a praying to an idea of another being?
In my, decades of this work, what the best way I know how to describe it is, I believe, Lisa, there's a prayer field.
Ah.
And it's like a field of energy. And there are many portals into that field. So someone might pray to angels to allow themselves a connection to prayer support. Someone else, it might be a saint. Someone else, they might use the word, infinite love, beauty. Many people pray without addressing that which is too vast to be named. I think in all the interviews I do, and I hear other people interview, I constantly hear people say, God, or whatever you call it, whatever you call it, so there's many portals in. But I have a vision of more people accessing prayer, to live prayer supported, because it's a tremendous game changer. If you've ever experienced that discernment of what it's like to live life feeling like you're on your own, and maybe you're smart and maybe you're pretty and maybe you've got resources, but you're still on your own to figure it out, versus living prayer supported by the infinite unseen love in this universe, guiding, governing, directing you. And it's so wonderful to feel a constant checking in with that, so to speak,
Yeah. Do you ever feel that people ultimately are praying to their higher consciousness, where prayer, while we sometimes take the pressure off of ourselves by saying we're praying to a higher power or deity or being, that we're just taking the analytical mind offline a bit and allowing the mind to drift and come up with its own creative solutions, tapping into our creativity? Higher creativity is another word for it.
I think that that's a wonderful articulation. And I think that may be true. I might say we're praying to our higher consciousness. I also might say we're praying to the broader aspect of who we are. But the problem with even that, trying to define it, is that sounds like I'm praying to me. And I love the prayer technology called affirmative prayer. Some people might be familiar with that. And there's a 6-step process where you move into gratitude, you acknowledge the presence of a higher power, you're one with it, you realize that power in relationship to what's going on, you are grateful again, you release it, amen. And it's all affirmative. And the wonderful thing about that technology is you're coming from a consciousness of oneness in and of God. But I can remember working with someone who was depressed, and they were studying that prayer technology. And they said to me, Angela, I just can't be my own God today. I can't find the affirmative thought.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't like to confine prayer in that way, to say we're praying to ourselves. I like more thinking of it in more of a mysterious sense.
Interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. When you said that you had a prayer session with an atheist, what did that look like? Or how did that go?
Well, I work with many atheists. And it's interesting. I find it so interesting. They have found a way to relate to prayer that's consistent with their intellectual atheistic view that there is no higher power. And yet they believe in the mystery of the universe, that so much is possible beyond their current viewpoint, perception, or frame of reference. So they feel that they're accessing their subconscious mind. If we have 10% of our brain we're working with, how do we get at that other 90%? For an atheist, they say prayer is a valid method of connecting to that 90%.
That makes sense. It is. So that's, now you mentioned there were some techniques. And I opened the show by talking about if people are desperate for prayer, what is, and desperate for something, they usually pray in those situations. Is there any judgment on that?
Not on my hat. Not for me. No.
Yeah.
No. And I think a great prayer for something like that is if you just put your hand on your heart and take a moment to feel, your chest, your hand. This is your precious life. You just take a breath or two and you just say, help. That's a prayer. Help, 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 help. Amen. Help.
When you pray with people, what do you do?
Do you mean like what do I say or what happens to me internally?
Both.
Well, what I do or what happened, I guess I want to say what happens to me, because I certainly feel like I'm not doing anything. And like many of us, believe me, I can get caught in I'm a doer doing. But in prayer, it's like there's a void and there's no doing. And what I'm tuning into, and the best way I know how to say it, is the wholeness of that individual. And it's as if I can see, or maybe more accurately, I can say I can feel that individual relating to themselves in a fragmented way. Like I'm not this enough, or I'm too much that. And they're not relating to themselves in their pure wholeness. And guess what, Lisa? Neither am I, right? I have my own sense of fragmentation. So when I feel that, I feel a tremendous amount of empathy.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm sensing that deeper wholeness. And then I let go to the words that come forth from me that articulate that wholeness in relationship to whatever their prayer request or need is. And we know financial, relationship, health.
What if you're trying to, do people normally pray for miracles? I mean, for asking for finances to improve and health to improve and so forth.
Yes, yes. People often pray for miracles. And you could, if you pray for a miracle financially, and let's say money doesn't come, you could easily say prayer doesn't work because you didn't get the windfall or the health didn't improve. And I think it's sad that we've thought of prayer in that way. Does it work? Does it not work?
Right.
It's a soul nourishment. It's like, as I drink this water, I'm not going, is it working? Is it not working? Somehow I'm in some state of trust that hydrating my body is good and water is good and I'm drinking. So as we hopefully up-level our conversation about prayer and reset the conversation, we will move out of that, does it work? At the same time, miracles are unleashed through prayer. Gandhi said, prayer from the heart can achieve what nothing else in the world can. He said, prayer is not an old woman's idle amusement, but properly understood and applied, it is the most potent instrument of action.
It's interesting. I love what you said of let prayer do for you what you have not been able to do yourself, because as you said, prayer is a state of being. So it's where you're praying from, and right there is a state change.
Yes,
you can completely change your state there.
Right. Profound receptivity is the state change. When I'm trying to do it myself, I'm not necessarily receptive. I might be engaged creatively because I'm problem solving. A lot of things may be going on that are very stimulating and even to some degree fulfilling. That doesn't mean I'm receptive. And in prayer, that's the state change that occurs.
So that's a great point. We hear a lot about receiving. It's one of those big things these days of saying, well, you have to be willing to receive. Is prayer as much of a receiving act as it is an act of action?
Well, the word I like for receiving is humility. That's a daily prayer for me. And when I think of something, if I access Christian mysticism, I think of something from the Holy Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. I think of that, the meek of ego, someone humble in ego. And I don't think ego is a person or an entity. It's just all those swirling thoughts. Ego is edging God out, all those thoughts of separation, fear, doubt, worry, all those thoughts. So I think that prayer invites us into our vulnerability and our humility. Like, I don't have all the answers right now, or, gosh, maybe I need to change in some way I'm not willing to change, or, it invites us into like being very teachable, not just receptive, but teachable.
Oh, that's interesting.
Willing,
Yeah. I mean, it's in the moments of my deepest prayer and the stillness after that I get the most communication. Yeah, that's where I receive it. So I love that you take this very intimate topic that has a lot of stigma on it, and you turn it into something very practical that people can kind of do on their own, in their own home, through this great idea that you have medicine for the soul. There's a whole package here that's related to that. Tell me about why you call it medicine for the soul. What is the package?
Well, I call it medicine for the soul because prayer may truly be our most ancient mind-body medicine.
Could be, yeah.
And I call it medicine for the soul also because I think we're coming into a time where nourishing our soul, we're going to understand more about what that means and what it means to live nourished soulfully. And when are we in some state of deprivation on a soul level or spiritually? So prayer is medicine for the soul. And what this package is, it answers one of the questions that is my most asked question, which is, how do you pray? Even if people are religion, a lot of times they were not educated in how to pray.
Right, they were told.
Right. And, so I like to, and so I take 23 years of all my learnings, and I teach how to pray and give 3 methodologies. So you can have a little toolbox with 3 tools specifically for prayer. Not that you can't make up your own and do many more.
It's a good starting point.
Yes. And then I talk about a prayer practice. Like, what is it to, as you were saying, use it in your daily life to have a practice. Many of us have a yoga practice. We might have a meditation practice, or at least considered it, but a lot of times people don't think of a prayer practice. Prayer is your last ditch effort, not your first response. But it's so deep, it's so profound. If you just now, being in this interview, just notice when you hear the word prayer. You'll hear it on the news. Someone will say, "Pray for me."
Yeah.
Yes,
we'll pray for you. Mm-hmm.
And it's something very human. And so I like this practice because we really do love each other in this world. We hear so much about divisiveness, but human beings are born to love and love one another. And one of the most extraordinary ways to distribute love is through prayer. Like, how would you feel, Lisa, if I said to you, "I will pray for you today," and you believed me, and I really did? How does that make you feel?
Supported.
Yeah. I mean, I want that for the world. And so in a prayer practice, you're not only praying for yourself, you're praying for parts of your community you're invested in, and you also do your prayers for the world. In a Newsweek survey, it's like close to 90% of people in the United States of America believe in prayer. Most prayers in America are for safe travel. Whereas when this survey was done, which was several years ago, only 6% of the prayers were for world peace.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things we're worrying about, but we're not praying about. I'd like to switch that.
I mean, world peace is such a huge, broad topic. It would make more sense to pray for specific, more housing for our homeless, more, things like that would add to world peace, that would make more sense. But also, there's a little bit of a me society going on these days. And I wonder how many people pray for others that are younger.
Well, I feel like you might be surprised. And then again, I might be living in a very rarefied population because my youngest client is 14, my oldest is 94, and
Wow.
I lead these global prayer circles all over the world. And once people get tuned in, prayer is a language of intimacy. Carolyn May said years ago, woundology is our language of intimacy. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Prayer goes into something beyond woundology.
What are global prayer circles? That sounds like a lot of fun to be on.
Well, through my work, and my mission is called Rethink Prayer. I'm wanting people to think prayer, but also rethink prayer. I feel like as we really are awakening to the global heart of humanity, we're shifting out of that survival of the fittest, Darwinian, reptilian brain kind of modality to this heart-centered survival of the wisest. I think we're going to see prayer have a really new day.
Yeah.
And it's going to emancipate a lot of love. And so in a global prayer circle, we just get together, everybody says what they need prayer for, and everybody prays for everybody.
Oh, that's nice.
And yeah. Do you remember a few years ago when knitting became all the rage?
Yeah. Or no?
Well, in LA, I remember like a lot of knitting was like young people were knitting. No, you missed
Okay.
it.
I don't think I got that one.
That one was on my radar, but knitting became not like a grandmother's thing, but young people were knitting.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm hoping that'll happen for prayer, that more and more people can be engaged. And once you experience a prayer circle, you'll want to come back to one.
Oh, yeah. And they're virtual, right?
Yeah. And that's part of this medicine for the soul is hooking into a prayer circle.
I like that. So hooking into a prayer circle, and then throughout the package, you can learn various ways of prayer and a little bit of different types of prayer and historical references to prayer, all sorts of different things, right?
Yes. I also have something that I speak about, like if you were only going to pray for 7 things, 1 a week, what they would be. And I do those prayers for you because I'm so passionate about teaching prayer, but many people just need to receive prayer or want to feel the wash of prayer over them. So, you don't have to go gangbusters praying up a storm. Just open to prayer. Just open to prayer.
That's so awesome. Where were you raised?
I was raised in Virginia, in the South. Yes.
And so prayer for you, is it different now than it was where you were raised?
Yes. In the Bible Belt, like so many places, prayer is a loaded word, but you could even like insult someone like, oh, it looks like you need a prayer today. That's the way you told somebody they weren't looking too good. Or,
wow.
If you want to get the gossip, you'd say, any prayer concerns that we need to know about?
Oh my goodness.
It's funny. But that's the old style, unconscious kind of relationship to prayer, begging, beseeching to some power out there. We're talking about something utterly transformative, utterly fresh, and truly, deeply supportive. As I've tried to find analogies and metaphors for speaking this, one came to me when I was in an airport and I was just walking on, those escalators where you're not going up, but they just
speed
walk
walker,
you along.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can either stand there and let it walk you, or you can walk and go double fast. I think of that as prayer. When you're hooked up to prayer, it's like you're being walked even as you're walking. You're feeling something move you even as you're moving, and it's so encouraging.
You're such an extraordinary person to have such a deep commitment to this, and for so long, for 26 years, you said?
Well, 23. I've been in private practice since 1994.
That's amazing. That's wonderful that you help people in a non-denominational way use prayer as a way of connecting with your intuition, with the God of your heart, with your requests of life. It's a beautiful way to unhook and reboot prayer. Love it. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I forgot to give the website. If you go to the website, which is theawareshow.com/prayer, you will see the beautiful package that has been put together by Angela on rethinking prayer. And it really is a beautiful way for you to really rethink and reboot prayer completely. If this is something that you have deleted from your life, if you felt that you have had judgment about, or felt that it hasn't worked for you in the past, it's a wonderful way for, I think you can call prayer and meditation and intention setting kind of the same thing. It's just, those are different words to use for what it means to reset and connect with yourself and with your higher power or a higher power. Wonderfully said. Thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate it.
Blessings.
Thank you. And also remember, go to the website, theawareshow.com/prayer. And until next time, I invite you to stay aware. Hi, I'm Lisa Garr, host of The Aware Show. And I want to share with you a little bit about how to live your life trusting that you are guided. It is a big, huge leap of faith to live this way. But as my belief is, as long as you live your life with integrity and authenticity, attempting to do the highest good for yourself and for others, then you will gain the support of the universe. And that when you come up against challenging times, or when you're hitting something that you just cannot figure out or don't know what to do about, trust that you are guided and taken care of, and ask for that guidance. And just say, hey, I need some support. I'm out of my comfort zone here, and can you please support me? And I pray to a council of guides. I pray to God. I pray to anyone who will listen sometimes, just to know that I am guided and supported is the way that I start my prayer. Knowing I am guided and supported, please support me during this time. Help me see what I need to see. Help me remove any blocks and barriers that I cannot see. And help me do the right thing and to flourish at all times. With my good and the highest good of all this universe, that is my prayer for you and for the world. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Aware Show. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will give you some of my favorite bonus gifts. So if you want to subscribe also to my newsletter, you can find the link in the description below. Thank you so much, and until next time, I invite you to stay aware.